Hello and welcome to the Cookbook Lab Chronicles. I've honestly lost track of which episode we are on at this point. I hope you will be okay with low production effort for today. I am sitting on the floor of my living room in front of my couch. You might be able to see some goodness over here today, and I am super makeupified, super tan because I got a spray tan yesterday, because today we did my headshots, and we also did some other shots for the cookbook that I'm really excited about, including, so I've kind of alluded to this by now, my cookbook theme is going to be around sous vide meal prep. And so even though I don't have my book in hand yet, I wanted some photos for the book that were of me and representative of the theme. So I'm just going to throw some examples of what those were for me today, and you can think about those and how they might translate for your book. So for me today, they were me holding a stack of frozen, meal prepped, vacuum sealed meats, ready to go, and holding them in a stack and smiling at the camera. It was me preparing to sous viding and searing a steak. Lots of me holding different sous vide equipment. Cute one that was my friend Carly's idea, who did my headshots today, of me just holding a bunch of compound butters all in my hands, and just a bunch of stuff like that. So getting those all ready today, both for the book itself and for PR. I'm about to start my big PR push, and I want some new headshots. I have some good headshots, but they're from a year and a half ago, and I wanted some that were more specific to the book, especially because I won't have anything book specific to present to somebody yet. And what I mean by that is photos of my cover, photos of me holding the book, photos of the book on a counter. Those aren't going to be available for a little bit. So I wanted something that could be used kind of in the meantime. And so to that end, the phase of the cookbook that I'm in now, my recipe testers are going. A lot of the recipes have been tested by other people at this point, which is very exciting. All of the recipes have been developed and tested by me, which is crazy. Who knows? There's a chance I might have a crazy idea and decide to add something at the end, because that's what we do. And so now I'm moving in to piecing together the book. And so I have started the branding phase. And so one branding exercise that I really like to do, I'm actually going to be kind of doing an instructional in the Cookbook Lab on this, is, and for those who aren't familiar, the Cookbook Lab is the course that I teach that teaches you how to self-publish your own cookbook. I decide what my book is and what my book isn't, and then I do all of the branding through that lens. So in my case, my book is fun, it's modern, and it's playful, but it isn't cute. So that is hard for me because I tend to accidentally veer towards cutesy sometimes, but I know, even though sometimes I'm drawn to that, or I'll grab things that are cutesy, I know I don't like the overall look of cutesy. Now I've liked that in the past. And so I really want to avoid getting too cute for my book, which is tricky. So I put together my brand guide, which it's very sloppy and messy, but that's okay, it gets the job done. And so my brand guide details the colors that I'm using, including the hex codes, so I can use that throughout the design of my book, the fonts that I'm using, and then kind of the look and feel of the thing. And then the part that I'm still working on is different patterns and elements, graphics that I'm going to be using throughout the book too. So I'm still sourcing those. I have I have something specific in mind, but I also don't know what I want for those. I just keep seeing things and knowing that they're not quite right. So I still need to actually figure that piece out. So what that's extending into now is I'm beginning to lay out my book. And I'm kind of jumping ahead on that, in part because I really want to experiment with getting a general layout ready before I start doing the photography. And the reason for that being just so I can be a little bit strategic when I do my photography. I can be shooting for specific things rather than just shooting everything and then seeing where I'm at. So I think that that's going to probably be an overlapping process, which is normal and good, but I'm excited to kind of experiment with that this time, because that's not at all what I did last time. Last time I just shot every single recipe and then put together the book. So we will see how that ends up turning out. That's in part because last time I just did a full cover or a full page photo for every single recipe in my book. This time I'm probably not going to be doing that. I have some recipes that are really similar. For example, I have a compound butter series that's really, really fun. And so I think I'm going to do like a full page photo of all of the butters. And then not have like necessarily photos for each individual butter. So that's just kind of an example for you there. So definitely kind of playing around, figuring all this out. I've also started the process of working with a recipe tester, the fabulous Diane Morgan, who I owe an email to right now, and starting the process of having my recipes edited. And this has brought up a really great point of conversation within the Cookbook Lab that's kind of twofold. So one, when I did my book the first time, I wasn't in a place where I was making any money from my blog. And, you know, my husband and I were both working full time, and this wasn't something I wanted to devote a lot of my own money to. So I was incredibly scrappy about how I spent money on my first book. And so my prices that I show people what I spent on are lower than what they might be now for two reasons. One, I was so scrappy, and not everyone might not want to be that scrappy. And then number two, rates have changed a lot. And in even just the past couple of years, things are just more expensive now by a lot, not just like natural rate of inflation, like significant amounts. So back when I did my first cookbook, I found most of the people who I hired to work on it were either freelancers I was already connected to, or people I found on Fiverr, which is like a common freelancing for hire type website. And so what I did with a lot of like the more expensive professionals that I worked with, for example, for recipe editing, I would send them a sample of my recipes that like, so say I'm sending you this recipe. It is really similar to these 4 other recipes in my book. I'm going to have you professionally edit this one recipe, and then I'm going to apply the principles of those edits to the other recipes myself to save money. And so I did a lot of stuff like that. And then I would just have like either like a college student or somebody else without necessarily a lot of experience, who therefore wasn't charging as high of a rate, go through and do edits for like actual copy edits, meaning like spelling errors, clarity errors, stuff like that. So I did a lot of that to save money. And got really, I like literally each time I needed to hire someone, I would sit down and think, what is the purpose of me hiring them? What do I actually need them to do? What do I need their expertise for? And how can I figure out a way to do more of that work myself to save money? Which this is a great thing to do if that's a big focus for you, is trying to save money, which I think it is for most people who self-publish, because it's coming out of our own pockets. But time literally equals money. And so in this case, I'm probably going to, this time around, I am going to be choosing to spend more money and less time, because I have much more, well, I don't know if that even feels true. I had a lot going on when I wrote my first book. It feels, I'm just probably going to be spending a little bit more money this time around, but I'm going to be applying a lot of those same principles. So again, what do I actually need this person to do, and what can I do myself? And being okay with doing a lot of that work. We have a surprisingly busy summer. We're making up for, I guess, lost time with COVID. So being okay with doing that work on planes, in campgrounds while Eric fishes, and all that good stuff is going to make for an interesting time this summer. So now I'm kind of like in full crunch mode. Like I literally have just over a month before I really want the book to be mostly done. So it's going to be a lot of work. But I'm really excited about it. I'm feeling hyped. I'm thinking about truly just like telling folks I'm going to be unavailable for a few weeks at a time during certain weeks over the next few weeks, because I just need to put my head down and focus and not necessarily be available to other people, which is hard for me. So we'll see how that goes. And there is your update. If you have any questions, drop a comment below, DM me. And if you are wanting to self-publish a book yourself, join us in the Cookbook Lab. You can learn more at aduck7.com/cookbooklab.